struggling with blood sugar control even when you follow your diet plan? I'm pretty sure most people are going through that. What if the missing piece to managing your diabetes isn't just about, the food intake, but about the trillions of microbes living inside your gut? What do we mean by saying gut microbiome? And think of it that the gut is a place where we have a bustling complex of, life. Apart from your life, there's a whole complex ecosystem living inside your digestive tract, and primarily also found in your large intestine, or what we call the colon. It is made up of trillions of microorganisms. As a matter of fact, not just bacteria. They include, obviously, mostly bacteria. We have fungi, we have viruses, we have yeast, and also other single-cell microorganisms that are actually different from what we know bacteria to be. So it is a whole place of what I would say a complete ecosystem by itself that supports its own life. Each person has a unique microbiome. Everybody's is different. The kind of microorganisms that I have in my gut is completely different from the person next to me. Even the person who shares the same meal is going to have different population of microorganisms in their gut. So that is what we need to keep in mind. The other reason why there are differences is that we have age differences. Of course, as you age, your microbiome differs from a younger person. Also, genetics. Your genes may not permit some organisms or some bacteria or virus or unicell body organisms to live in your body for reasons of your own genetics. And then also the diet, the kind of diet that you eat. If you feed on one particular diet, or especially if you are in a certain place where your diet completely differs from another, then obviously you are going to have a different population of organisms in your gut. And so that is another huge reason why people may have different microflora in their gut. The other thing is the environment. It could be if you are in a temperate place, if you are in a colder climate, or if you are in a tropical region, the kinds of foods may determine what kind of bacteria or viral particles you may have in your body. I'm talking about specifically beneficial ones that are in your colon. And then lastly, the other reason why they may differ is the kind of medications you may be taking. If you're on medications, even from one person's own microbiome, taking some medications for some time may sort of change it over time. And then once the medication goes off, it may either remain the same or change depending on what new things that a person introduces into their body. So now, what are the benefits of or the functions of the gut flora or the microbiome, as we are saying? The first benefit is that it helps with your digestion and nutrition, basically digestion and nutrition, and also the absorption of food that you have. If you have a healthy microbiome, or if you have a healthy gut, if you have a healthy colon that is populated with all the beneficial bacteria in its own natural balance, then you are going to be able to digest your food in some way. So, healthy means it's going to be all right, right? If it is unhealthy or off the chart, then obviously you can be in trouble, whether you become chronically constipated or chronically in diarrhea. Not to say that's the only thing that may cause that, but at least those are some of the determinants of an unhealthy microbiome or an unhealthy gut. So yes, the first function is that it helps keep a consistent amount of good bacteria in your tummy or in your colon, such that you can absorb. First of all, you can digest fine. You can digest very different, diverse kinds of foods, and then you can pick up the nutrients from your food. So that is a major function of the microbiome or the bacteria you have in your colon. The second thing is the immune system. immune system. The microbiome affects your immune system greatly. Greatly. In fact, several researchers come up to show that, as a matter of fact, for some people, it is about, it controls about 70 to 80% of their immunity is basically based on their microbiome or the organisms in their colon, bacteria, fungi, and virus particles that may be in there. And another reason is that they basically train your body. So apart from the fact that they are there, to produce immunity, they train your body also to fight diseases. So just think about it this way: you have bacteria in your colon. The bacteria obviously is a foreign organism, right? Or virus particles, or even fungi in your colon, your large intestine. Don't you think that your body should fight it off? Because it's a foreign living entity, and foreign living entities should not be permitted by your body to live in your body. But because they are good, your body knows, and your body trains them to sort of accommodate all those. And for that reason, your immune system becomes trained on such bacteria. So if you see that bacteria, as far as in healthy amounts, your body is not going to go way high and begin to produce antibodies and all that, to fight it. So it's training in that respect. It's training your body with immune system. Your immune response, basically letting your body know what kinds of bacteria to fight and what kinds of fungi to fight, what kind of viruses are dangerous, and be awakened to fight them, and what not to worry about. So that's basically what I'm going by when I say it's training your immune system. So if you don't have a healthy microbiome, or if you don't have a healthy colony of bacteria and virus in your colon, in your body cannot tell which is good, which is bad. So it's a great thing, and it's well studied and known. As I said, about 70 to 80% of your immune system is located in your gut. Believe it or not, 70 to 80% is actually found in your gut. All right. And, just on top of that, if they are there as the good guys, obviously, because they are there, they are also going to be the ones that are going to fight off the foreign ones which are bad, And so that brings me to that third point, is that they protect against pathogens. So if you have healthy bacteria, healthy immune system, healthy virus, healthy unicell organisms in your body, then they are going to be the ones that help you fight the unhealthy ones. When any pathogen is the unhealthy bacteria, unhealthy microorganisms, be them viruses or fungi, when they come, because of the population of the healthy ones are going to be able to compete with them for food. They're going to compete with them for colony. They're going to compete with them for all the nutrients that they need to grow. And so the unhealthy ones, which are the pathogens, which may cause disease, run out of them, run out of power, and so they can survive. So it is a huge thing that we need to basically pay attention to. The healthy ones that we have in our colony, or what we call the healthy microbiome. But don't go here. We're going to relate it to blood sugar as we move forward. So don't go anywhere. Now, the fourth function of the microbiome is synthesis of vitamins. They help the gut, they help us produce some essential vitamins that we need in our bodies. For example, vitamin K. Vitamin K is needed to clot blood, for blood clotting properties. We also talk about vitamin B. B vitamins are also vitamins that can help. One of them being biotin and folate, and even B12. All these are vitamins that your microbiome help produce in your gut. So they are not just there to compete with you or anything like that. They are there to help you produce some vitamins on top of all the other functions that I've already enumerated, right? So they are not your enemies. In fact, as we go forward, you can tell that we all need to have a healthy microbiome, if you didn't know that already. But that's a well-established fact, from studies upon studies. So with that being said, let's move on to the fifth point, or the fifth function of the microbiome in your in your colon, is the gut-brain communication. So the body has, from thousands of years of creation, the body has learned to communicate. The brain has learned to communicate with the gut, for things to go well. So if you have a healthy microbiome, you are going to potentially have a healthy mental health. Your mental health is probably going to be on point. So mental health can be related, for example, because if the microbiome is healthy and balanced out there in your gut, you are going to be able to produce all those neurotransmitters such as serotonin, dopamine. All those are going to be produced in various great amounts that are needed. The next function of the microbiome is that it helps maintain integrity of the gut barrier. So in your intestines, talking about the cell membranes, the cells that line the inside of your colon or your intestines for that matter, they have to be intact. They have to be interlocked well. There shouldn't be any holes like this. If there are holes, then most likely you're going to have things leak in there and enter into your bloodstream and potentially cause havoc, diseases, and all that, right? And so one benefit of the healthy microbiome is that they keep the cells interlocked, the lining of your colon, of your intestine, packed well, so there are no holes for any chemicals, any products, any bacteria, or any virus to leak and go into your bloodstream. So that is another important function of a healthy microbiome. Yeah. And the seventh point, and then we'll move to that, is that a healthy microbiome is also involved in a healthy metabolic regulation. Your metabolism is definitely something that is also influenced by the microbes. That I think most people know, because people will tell you, hey, if you can't digest, you have indigestion, get some probiotic. It presupposes that people have an idea that if you have good bacteria on board, you can digest better and all that. But then it doesn't end there. The microbes also influences how your body stores fat, and also how it responds to insulin, and also how it regulates blood sugar levels. This is huge, because imbalances in the gut microbiomes, which we call dysbiosis, are increasingly linked to metabolic conditions like obesity and type 2 diabetes. If your gut microbiomes are not balanced, if you don't have a healthy population of good bacteria and fungus in your belly, just put it like that, then obviously you're going to have problems with obesity, per what I already alluded to. Because if you're going to have insulin resistance, then you're going to be obese. You're going to probably have a protruded stomach. You're going to have a big belly. Your waist circumference is going to be big. Why? Because you are insulin resistance. You're not regulating blood sugar as well. You cannot just have any one bacteria just take over the entire system. It has to be in a healthy balance. And you cannot also wipe it off with antibiotics, because in that case, you're going to also lack in those other benefits that we enumerated. How does the gut bacteria actually influence your blood sugar levels? And with that, we'll go to the leaky gut as the first one. From dysbiosis. Dysbiosis, again, as I said, is the fact that more harmful bacteria are there compared to the good ones. So when the good ones are less, when the good bacteria, or when the good fungi, when the good unicellular bodies in your belly are less than the harmful ones, then you are in dysbiosis, or dysbiosis, however you say it. In other words, there's no good balance. The balance is off. I'm just going to use that term. The balance is off. If the balance is off, then you get leaky gut. And most people have heard about leaky gut. This is what it is. Basically, a healthy microbiome helps maintain a strong gut lining, as I alluded to. So if you are on par with the good balance, then your gut, the cells are tightly fitted. The gut lining, the cell membranes of those cells that are lining your gut, they are tightly fitted if you have a good microbiome. But if they are not, if the balance is off, then the holes begin to poke. And so toxins or poisons or particles that are from viruses or bacteria can just leak through and go into your body. So that's the leaky gut. That's the first way leaky gut happens, if your microbiome is off, right? And we know that when that happens, it leads to what we call chronic low-grade inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation. Basically, making sure your whole body becomes inflamed. It drives inflammation all your whole body. You will not feel like you are sick, but you are inflamed. You got inflamed gut, inflamed blood vessels, inflamed pancreas, inflamed everything, your liver, everything becomes inflamed. But because it's chronic low grade, but going on chronically, chronic means it doesn't stop. It's continuous. And the low grade means that it's quiet. Nobody really perceives that you are sick. It is low grade and it's continuous. When that goes on for a long time, not only does it affect the beta cells of your pancreas, it also affects your entire system. It makes your insulin resistant. It drives insulin resistance. And this is where the blood sugar problems happen. And if you have diabetes and your microbiome is bad, you are also continuously getting insulin resistance. So you may be treating your diabetes all right, but because your gut microbiome is off, the balance is off, you are still under chronic low-grade inflammation, which in turn is leading to insulin resistance. So yeah, you're treating insulin resistance, but you're still producing insulin resistance. Why? Because you have low-grade inflammation all the time. And that is not a good place to be. So for some people, they have done a lot to treat their diabetes, but because their gut is not healed, their diabetes is getting worse. They do everything, and yet their diabetes is getting worse. Or they may not even have diabetes yet, but they may have high, what we call hyperglycemia. Their glucose goes up, when they are not even thinking, when they are not watching, because most people don't even know that they have prediabetes, and that's another thing that brings prediabetes, because of chronic low-grade inflammation due to the fact that their microbiome is off balance. That leads directly to insulin resistance and also actually affects your pancreas from doing the best job. So it's a double loss right here. You're losing because your whole body is inflamed, and as a matter of fact, it doesn't just affect diabetes. But I'm just hitting on diabetes because that's what we put on the title. But if you look into it, it's also going to lead to heart disease, obesity. You may not have diabetes, but you may still have you'll be in overweight. You may be chronically inflamed in other places. You may have problems with your liver. You may not know. Fatty liver disease may be going on, but you don't know. All because you have chronic low-grade inflammation as a result of a microbiome that is off the charts. But the sad thing is, because it's not huge, it's not acute, it's not like boom and everybody sees. Many people are living with chronic low-grade inflammation, making their diabetes worse, making them have cholesterol problems, making them have liver cirrhosis. People who have not even been alcoholics having to deal with cirrhosis of the liver, just because of chronic low-grade inflammation. That's been happening over years. And then they are diagnosed and like, I never drank. Yes, you never drank, but your diet was so bad that you have had prolonged inflammation, low-grade inflammation over the years because of leaky gut. The other one is when you have a healthy microbiome, they bind to what we call bile acid. And bile acid metabolism is affected by a good microbiome. So if you have, specific modified bile acids, that's what we call them. Specific modified bile acids can bind to receptors in the gut and other tissues, which then influence glucose metabolism and also insulin sensitivity. And so if you have a leaky gut, glucose metabolism going to be bad because you are not binding your bile acids are not being bound. But there are easy fixes. I'm saying it as if there's no hope. There is hope. There's hope. Now let's talk about. I'm probably going to hit about three ways you can actually fix your gut if you have issues with your gut microbiome, or if you don't even know, you want to just make sure that you going forward protect yourself against any damage to your microbiome or to your organs or the organisms that are in your colon, in your body, that are supposed to help you protect you against these blood sugar spikes and stuff, right? So let's do three of them. The first one that you have to do is to increase dramatically your dietary fiber intake. Your dietary fiber intake, I can't stress it enough. We always, on this channel, we try to point you to what kinds of foods to eat that will help you. But there are certain key food elements or nutrients that we always come to. And it's not for just to make it easier for us to do a show. No, it is because if you go in the research, if you go to the clinical databases, if you go to the clinical studies, they are there. It's studied and they are there. Fiber. You got to be dramatically increasing your fiber intake if you want to fix your microbiome. If you want to have a good balance of good bacteria, good fungi, and good virus particles in your colon so that you get the benefits that we're talking about, you have to definitely increase your intake of dietary fibers. And by that, not just one, you can focus on the diversity of fibers that you think of, whether it's soluble fibers, even apples have soluble fibers. We have fibers in oatmeal, steel cut oatmeals. We have fibers in greens. All these greens that we always mention, they are prebiotics. We have lettuce, we have spinach, we have kale, we have contumaries. What other green do you know? All those are fibers that are going to feed the beneficial bacteria. So people who eat refined foods that are processed, because when processing happens, you remove all those benefits, you remove all those fibers. Those people are the people with the most problems. The people who eat natural. I was watching one doctor's video. He said that the one ingredient food, in other words, the food that is just made from one ingredient, which means it's not processed. You haven't added anything to it. So if I'm eating spinach, you can't do anything to spinach unless you actually go to the extent of, blending it, adding salt, adding oils, adding all those things. Then you are basically processing it. But if I'm eating a spinach salad, there's no ingredient added. It's just the spinach. That's all I'm eating. So fiber. I can't stress it enough, because that is the food for the microbiome. The fungus will grow on it, the bacteria will grow on it, and even the beneficial viruses. We don't mention them a lot, but they are in the colon too. They will all feed on the fibers, whether it is soluble or non-soluble fibers. We need them all, so that I'm talking about seeds and nuts and fruits. All those have fibers. So if you can begin to include them in your regular diet, you are going to be feeding the beneficial bacteria, and your microbiome is going to be healed. So immediately, if you want to heal it, just hit on them. The greens, the nuts, the seeds, the fruits, being careful not to be doing all the tropical fruits. If the tropical fruits may be very sweet, some of them at least. So if you are diabetic and sugar conscious, don't just do the fruits, but have a healthy balance of all those fibrous fruits that you can find. For example, I got some apples last time I went to the grocery shop. I got a Granny Smith apples, the green apples. They may not taste as sweet as a sweet apple, but there's still some sweetness there. So you intentionally include certain, non-sweetened fruits if you are diabetic, because we need you to have the fibers on them, or if you are worried about increasing your blood sugars. All right. So that's that one. The second way to fix your microbiome is to significantly reduce added sugars, refined carbohydrates, and highly processed foods, as I alluded to earlier. You have to significantly reduce them. If you do not reduce them, you are definitely going to hurt yourself. Because why? And first of all, you are not. If you are eating those refined foods, sugars and refined starches and that, it means that you're not eating your fibers. Because if you eat the fibers, you are going to have less room for those foods. So first of all, if you eat those, you are missing out on the good. Then the second thing is that not only are you missing out on the good, these foods that you eat are also harmful to the bacteria that you have, the good ones that you need to grow and to promote. They are harmful to them. And so it is not a great thing for you to be doing by increasing your intake of processed foods. It's become fashion for some communities. If you can buy canned foods, then you are rich. No, it means you are poor. People who eat from farm to table, farm to kitchen, those are the rich ones. Yeah, go to the rich people's house. They don't need to be eating everything from the can. There's a chef there that is cooking for them. Granted, they may be adding certain poisons, from processing. But if you are going to be real natural and go from farm or from the field to your plate, those are the rich ones. Don't let anybody. I'm saying this because for some, poor communities that are becoming a little better in terms of socioeconomics, we begin to think that if you eat stuff that is processed, that means you can afford it. No, you are affording diseases. You are not affording health. And so let's forget about those. Let's forget about those. You're drinking soda or minerals with every meal when you should be drinking water. You are doing the refined sugars, which are detrimental to your gut microbiome. They are against your health. Apart from the fact that they themselves also increase your risk for diabetes and for heart disease. Come on, man. That is huge. When you are doing those refined foods and refined drinks and all those sugary drinks, sugar added stuff, you are already increasing your risk for diabetes and for blood pressure, high blood pressure, for heart attack, and all those cardiovascular diseases, for strokes. Apart from you not increasing your gut microbiome, not making them healthy, that food is also already put you at a whole different level. And so we got to make sure that we avoid those. We got to avoid those. And the third one that I also want to say is to fix your gut microbiome, you have to incorporate regular physical activity. I mean, it sounds far-fetched. How would exercise and make your gut microbiomes increase? That's what the study says. The study says that actually, if you exercise more, you increase the diversity of your gut microbiome. In other words, you have black bacteria, white bacteria, Spanish bacteria. Come on, man. I just want to make it fun. You increase the diversity of your gut microbiome. All kinds of good bacteria, good virus, good fungi can coexist if you are exercising. So it's not just increasing, but because you're exercising, the diversity of your gut microbiome increases. And this has a direct, relation to your insulin sensitivity. So if you have a diverse group of all different kinds, because somebody may have good bacteria, but if for example, we know one of the good bacteria we know about is lactobacillus, right? Lactobacillus. So, for example, you have a healthy amount of lactobacillus, and that's all you have. That's not good enough. You got to have lactobacillus. You have to have other kinds of bacteria, good bacteria there to coexist. And exercise is what brings the diversity. And then the diversity of the microbiomes is what also leads to insulin sensitivity. Not enough time to go into the details, except to say that exercise will actually help you diversify your gut microbiome, which is eventually going to lead to insulin sensitivity. Those on YouTube and Facebook, you can put your comments on there and I will be able to respond to them. If you are watching and you have not subscribed, YouTube data says that 70% of people who watch have not subscribed. Please hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up also. And you may also share it to somebody who's been struggling. So until I see you in the next video, I'll say, beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, just as your soul is prospering. Thanks for watching. God bless.